going to talk menstruation, periods, PMS, pain, insomnia, hormonal chaos, depression, suicide. I know that's not fun stuff to hear, but some of us feel like we sometimes want to just end it because it is so painful, right? I was just on my Facebook video on my other page talking about this. But here's the statistics, and it's really important for us to know and realize the consequences of fixing our period with birth control. And I'll just start with some compassion, because I used to take birth control. I was on thyroid medications. I took several drugs to try to alleviate my symptoms, not realizing that these were very toxic medications that severely damaged my brain and my body. And this is what I'm trying to prevent in this group and our programs and the posts that we share, because it is absolutely within your sovereignty to reclaim your hormones, your ovaries, your thyroid, your adrenals, what I call the Tao, which is your entire cascade of hormonal production. It's hormones that are produced in the thyroid, the adrenal, and the ovaries, and that's your Tao. And so that's the trilogy of female hormone balance, is we want to make sure that those are all balanced and they're all working together. Unfortunately, what's happening now is if we have severe, let's say, like for me, and I know this question was inspired by Gina Marie, and Gina asked the question because I had posted about birth control and how so very toxic it is. And if you guys scroll back to previous like videos and posts and shares, you guys can see how, London's transformation, and when working with London last year, and how the reason why she wanted to work with me is to get off of birth control, because she saw my post about how toxic it was, and she just wanted to feel better again and not have her skin break out, because so many of us take these medications because we have hormonal symptoms. And the number one worst one is that we don't look beautiful, at least we don't perceive that we do, or we're having to wear toxic makeup to cover up our pimples. Ladies, I don't want you guys to have to wear a mask anymore. I want you to be able to go out in public and just be your lighthouse, beautiful, vivacious self, and not have to worry about covering anything up. Because if we're worrying about covering up our skin, we're probably worrying about covering other parts of ourselves up, right? Like, so as above, so below. And so if we've got this insecurity that there's something to hide, then we will also hide parts of our soul and our spirit as well. And we'll start blocking things out, and we'll mask things, and we won't all the way be present. You will disengage. We won't be totally connected, and we won't be connected to ourselves. So we take medications because we want the symptoms to go away, but it actually blocks us from us thriving as our full potential self, right? So years ago, I used to get like the worst periods in the world too. And this is another part of what London was experiencing, and many other women that I work with all around the world with this problem. So double periods, excessive bleeding. And Gina, this is exactly what you asked about. How do I resolve my female hormonal menstruation issues without birth control? Because you mentioned that you have heavy bleeding. You mentioned that you were having, I think that you said something like double periods or painful bleeding. And of course, that typically will come with a whole host of other things like PMS, and that's premenstrual syndrome, when we've got like irritability and totally crazy food cravings and insomnia and hot flashes, and of course, low sex drive, and wanting to bite our boss's head off, wanting to rip a crocodile in half. I just made that one up, although that'd be kind of fun. Not really at all. Maybe a toy one, but there's crocodiles in this little river here. So that's why I said it. But yeah, well, we're gonna rip anybody's head off basically when we're feeling like we're in this state of crisis that is called PMS. But did you know that we don't have to live this way? And so many of us are not told the truth. And so this is what I want to bring you today, Gina and Terry and everybody else watching this now or later on, because this will probably live, as long as the quality is good, this will live on my YouTube channel later on, because this is a very important topic. And of course, I'm looking at my skin. I'm like, do I look my best right now? I don't know. I don't want to cover anything up. This is about you guys, not about me. So how do we resolve these hormonal issues without synthetic birth control or any kind of other prescription drugs that are more toxic to us than the actual symptoms themselves? And how do we get to the root of it once now and forever, right? And when you guys are equipped with this knowledge, then you can keep this with you everywhere you go. You have these tools forever. So I want to talk about first the consequences of taking birth control. I have taken several different types of birth control, and they have all destroyed me. I've done 2 different kinds of birth control pills. I took the Mirena, which is a 5-year IUD, which is laced with hormones. And then I took copper. I used a copper IUD and started for like 3 years, I think it was. And it absolutely destroyed my life. Copper toxicity is huge. So copper comes in through your hook, and it absorbs into your uterine lining, and it causes this like psychoticness, this like bipolarness, this like can't focus. If you guys want to read more about that, I have several other videos. It's one of my most popular videos on my YouTube channel, so you could always just Google Diane Kaiser YouTube birth control, and you'll see my story about this and how thousands of women from around the world have thanked me for posting it, because they had no idea that there was a better way, and they had no idea, just like you probably don't, that there are some very, very severe consequences for taking birth control. And what if we could actually resolve your issues without having to take these nasty medications that destroy you? Here they are. Brace yourself. Ready? Okay. The first couple here are, oh, hold on. Let me scroll up. My Wi-Fi sucks. Okay. Women who are on the pill and have had 3 sexual partners in their life are 15 times more likely to develop cervical cancer. Second stat, a woman who takes birth control for 2 years before 25 years old and has not been pregnant increases her odds of getting cancer tenfold. Third one, do you have migraines, ladies? Or have you ever had them? Or do you know friends that have them? I want you guys to make sure that you are tagging people in this post and sharing the wealth, because we all need better health and the real truth about what causes this stuff. Women who get migraines and take birth control, very common, are 2 to 4 times more likely to have a stroke than women who get migraines and don't take birth control. I'll tell you why later, and I will get to the root cause and how to resolve it. Fourth one, women, this is awful. One of my clients sent this article to me. If you guys are interested in reading the article, I'm more than happy to share this. And this is on like tens of thousands of women. They did this study. Women using birth control, the risk of attempting suicide was nearly double that of women who have never used contraceptives. The risk was triple for suicide. Women who used hormonal birth control had a 40% increased risk of depression after 6 months of use compared to women who didn't. Now, these statistics are pretty scary, and there is some data that you'll probably find that says, oh yeah, birth control helps to reduce ovarian cancer and breast cancer, and it totally helps you with, fertility, and there's no big deal. You could just get off of it and get pregnant and everything's fine. But I'm here to tell you that those studies, and this is the question you always have to ask, is where is the data coming from? If you do a Google search, the very top ones you're gonna find are gonna be the industry that has the most amount of money to fund these research studies. So what happens is these drug companies like Merck and Pfizer and Sanofi, they do these studies, and they fund the studies and they get the data, and what they'll do is they'll trim the stuff out of it that doesn't prove their theory that taking a prescription medication is going to help you. So when I first heard this pissed me off, because I was like, well, they're withholding information from us to get us to buy into the false truth that they portray to us, that we absolutely need this. And then they shame us for not taking it. And this is awful, because I know that there's a lot of women who are taking birth control, not even because they're having sex, not for actually birth control, which is what it was created for, but because they want healthier periods. And these are the consequences. What if you could have amazing, unrecognizable periods where you could actually celebrate the release and detox of your flow? And this is what's happening, is we need to actually have a cycle. We need to release our, the lining of our uterus, because that creates a detoxification so that our body doesn't absorb and block and things get trapped inside of our lining, which is like PCOS and endometriosis and things that grow inside of our ovaries. That's what happens if we don't have regular cycles. That's what happens when we take birth control. That's what also happens with some of the things I'm going to talk about today too, with respect to our diet and our lifestyle and stress and other hormonal things like your thyroid, right? So I talked about thyroid last week. And today I'm going to keep going and talk about birth control related to your ovaries, related to your adrenals, and your thyroid. So we're going to pull it all together. So here is some of the other statistics on birth control and the side effects increased suicide, which you heard about, weight gain or loss, acne, nausea, emotional sensitivity, mood swings, irregular bleeding or spotting, breast tenderness, decreased libido, estrogen dominance, increase of cervical and breast cancers, increased risk of heart attack and stroke, migraines, high blood pressure, gallbladder disease, infertility, benign liver tumors, decreased bone density, which is a huge one, osteoporosis, yeast overgrowth. Over 80% of women who take birth control have yeast infections, and yeast infections will always go hand in hand with estrogen dominance and crazy blood sugar imbalances and crazy sugar cravings. So we have to keep this in mind, like, well, why am I all of a sudden having these food cravings? Why all of a sudden am I like feeling hormonal, as we would call it, right? And then, of course, the last one is increased risk of blood clotting, which is the thing that we're trying to prevent, right? So it can get very confusing. It's like I'm trying to prevent these things from happening, and they're happening even more. So there are risks with taking these things. And if you get a doctor who says like, oh, I'm going to put you in birth control, there are different kinds. Just like I said, there's some that are more estrogen based, just some that are more progesterone based. Then there's like the patch, then there's the IUDs. And which one's going to work for you is going to depend on your specific hormonal imbalance. So you're going to be on this like chain of trial and error in and out of the doctor, trying to figure out how to just resolve your symptoms so that you could feel better. What if we could just fix that? The root cause of all of these hormonal imbalances is all the same. So let's talk about that. Terry, can you still hear me? Because I don't see anybody commenting any questions or anything. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat box, because I'm here to address them for you. That's what these Monday calls are for. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube later, comment below and then I'll get to your questions. Okay, so there are 3 reasons why we have, I would say, bipolar periods, unacceptable periods, inconvenient periods, messy periods, embarrassing periods, exhausting periods, and just generally painful periods where we just feel gross and tired and unwell and uninspired. So there's 3 reasons. I'm going to go through each one of those today. Okay, cool. Thank you, Emily. Hi, Emily. Okay, so the first one is blood sugar imbalances, and we'll talk about where that even comes from. You're probably not eating enough sugar, just kidding. Number 2 is toxicity. As you guys hear me talk about all the time, that's my specialty. That's what I love talking about, is cleansing, and cleansing emotional thoughts, cleansing trauma, cleansing crappy foods in your diet, cleansing crappy supplements, cleansing these prescription drugs, cleansing toxic people, cleansing old hormones, etc. But toxicity causes estrogen dominance. And I'll explain to you exactly what that means later. But estrogen dominance is a condition in which I personally believe is going to be an epidemic very soon. And I'll explain why. So this doesn't even just pertain to women. You look around and see kids obese and overweight. You look around and see 70% of America, and now Canada and Australia, overweight. It's because of estrogen dominance. And this is not our own made estrogens. This is out from the outside. So we'll talk about that too. The third one is emotional stress. And this is so big. So just come to Costa Rica and hang out with me at this cafe and you won't have any emotional stress anymore. Sort of. I mean, the Wi-Fi is my main stressor, and that's really it. So let's break each one of these down. Let me know if you guys are resonating with this, okay? Because I want to make sure that I'm speaking at eye level. And as you're watching this, I have a challenge for you. Post the distinctions that you are learning, your major takeaways from this video, and then also post the things that you plan to implement in your life. So I plan to, get xenoestrogens out of my life. I plan to ditch birth control and try natural alternatives. I plan to book an appointment with Diane to talk more about how I can dive deeper. I plan to, look into some of these like processed foods that are toxic to my ovaries. Something like that, Post 3 distinctions and 3 things that you plan to implement. Otherwise, I'm just, like I always say, I'm just educating you guys, and you're like smarter, but you're not happier. So I really want you guys to start taking this information and doing something about it. And Terry, you're in my program that's starting in 2 days. So you're going to be doing this in our program too, where I'm always going to have you guys say, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to take these 3 steps and carry on. So let's talk about blood sugar imbalances. First thing is, blood sugar imbalances are caused by a tremendous amount of things that the average female does pretty much on the regular. This used to be me too, right? I used to wake up in the morning and I was like, oh man, I gotta go to work, and I'd stop at Starbucks. This was like just 10 years ago. I've never been like always healthy. I was only super healthy until like the last, I would say like 8 years or so. And then, cause I had to do something about it, cause my dad was all fucked up. My thyroid, adrenals, and ovary cascade was all messed up. And I was just like the average female feels today, like fat, fatigued, and frustrated, and super inflamed, and depressed, and anxious, and all the things, right? And on birth control. So I'd go to Starbucks, and I'd get like a venti caramel frappuccino, and then I'd get a, what is it called? A sausage McMuffin. It wasn't called that at Starbucks, but like a sausage muffin with cheese and the gluten, which was made out of not then glyphosate, which is Roundup. And like sausage from hormonally fed cows, or hormonally administered cows, GMO fed, and it had like this dairy, which was also hormonally treated. Just no life to any food that I was consuming. And what happens is that's going to spike your blood sugar and then drop you like within a couple of hours. So then you're gonna be like, I'm tired again, and I'm hungry again, and I'm like exhausted again, right? I already said tired and exhausted. Exhausted is like in the mind, and tired is physical of the body, the way I describe it. So, or I would skip the muffin and just have coffee. And this is what disturbs our blood sugar imbalances and makes us do this. This is what makes us tired. We got a lot of blood sugar, we have a lot of energy, and it spikes our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and then it drops because we don't have any sugar left. That's what it's a quick burning macronutrient. So it drops and we're like, oh my God, I'm tired again. But first coffee, or maybe but second time coffee, or maybe that's the third time drinking coffee, and then you're in your second pot. So I'm gonna talk about why coffee is awful for our hormones, and how once in a while we can have it, especially and when and if you get your hormone levels balanced. So it doesn't have to be something that you jump ship on and never drink again, but some of us are very sensitive to it. I myself am one of them, and I could explore this with you guys on hormonal testing, functional medicine testing. And I'm not talking about blood tests, because they're not going to give you any picture of this. We're talking about what your body is producing in hormones, what your body is absorbing and using at the cellular level, which is the only way anything can get used. And then I'll talk about cell wall doors in a minute. And then also what your body's releasing. So these are all things that affect your metabolism, your energy levels, your sexuality levels, your confidence, your sleep cycles, whether or not you're bleeding like crazy and spotting and having a happy period or not. So going back to this is, if we skip breakfast, if we forget to eat, if we skip meals, if we're eating a ton of food at night because we're not really eating in the morning because we have body dysmorphia, like I used to, and think, oh, I'm just gonna, get skinny with my skinny latte, right? And then like at 2 o'clock I was tired to have another skinny latte. Then my body was all acidic and like all over the place with wired and tired. And then I'd have more coffee at 2 again. And then I'd come home and pig out because my body was malnourished. And this is what so many women are doing. Say I, if this is you, and it's totally okay, because compassion, right? Like I'm here to be empathetic with you guys, because I used to be this person, because I was dying for more energy, like literally dying for more energy. I had to get through my day. I was a stockbroker, and I had to be on top of the stocks and get starting early in the morning. So I was like, on crack. Also snacking, eating processed foods, drinking too much alcohol, and then also what I was talking about with coffee, right? So these are all things that make our blood sugar do this throughout the day. Blood sugar imbalances. Ready? And if somebody can put this in the comments, I would be grateful, because this is something that's gonna resonate when you type it out. When we type things out, our brain remembers them. So blood sugar imbalances are the root cause of most diseases today, mainly specifically your hormones, your energy levels, your ability to digest food, and your ability to be in an amazing mood. Blood sugar imbalances. Someone type that in, because that's really important to distinguish. So blood sugar imbalances starts at, when we were kids, you're like, you started it. And you're like pointing at your sister or brother, and you're like, you started it. Well, you can point your finger to the sugar in your blood, your glucose levels, and what they are throughout the day, which is caused by a lot of this forgetting to eat. I'm super busy, I forgot to eat. Guys, what's more important, your to-do list, your health? In order to get through our day, we have to have proper amounts of blood sugar, more stable throughout the day. It can go up, then it go down a little bit, and go up and go down a little bit, and I can teach you guys how to do that. But this up and down stuff is the reason why you're so sick and your hormones are all over the place. So let's talk about this. Research reveals that for women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, fibroids, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, or fibrocystic breasts, the caffeine from coffee will promote further formation of cysts, especially in those of us with compromised detox pathways, which is over 80% of women today. When I look at your guys' lab tests, I can see whether you're a slow metabolizer or a fast metabolizer. This is not genetic. This is conditional based on your lifestyle. So you could actually improve your metabolism, which is your ability to digest food, convert it to energy, and then excrete the food and the remnants of it out of your body, which includes toxins. So if you have a sluggish digestion, if things are slowed down, then a lot of this stuff will just keep recirculating throughout the body, and these harmful toxins like these harmful estrogens and caffeine, etc., get lodged into your gallbladder, and then women are going, oh, well, I gotta remove my gallbladder, it got infected. No, this is just because everything is slowed down, and then when our body's slowed down, we get depressed, we get diagnosed with depression, we get diagnosed with thyroid disease, and then the next thing you know, we're on like 5 medications: birth control, Synthroid, antidepressants, sleeping pills. It can't keep going on this way because we can actually get to the root of this. So what happens when you drink caffeine is that it drops B vitamins and magnesium in your body. And you guys know magnesium is super important for like over 300 things in the body. One specific one being it inhibits thyroid function. So it inhibits your thyroid hormone, T3 that is, not TSH, not T4, from being used by your body. So even though, and this is very common, even though your doctor's like, oh yeah, your thyroid numbers look perfect, your TSH is perfectly in range, which is this wide range, I say it needs to be like here, between like 1 and 2. If it could be like 1.5, that'd be awesome. But if it's like between 0.25 and 5, they're like, you're fine. Not until you've hit a train wreck status with your thyroid will they even see that something's wrong, and then they'll say, you have a disease, you got to take this for life, there's nothing we can do, we don't understand the root cause of it. Bullshit. We do know the root cause of it. I myself had Hashimoto's hypothyroid disease, and with the help of a lot of awesome mentor doctors of mine and friends of mine, I did a ton of research and figured out how to get off of them by eating a certain way, living a certain way, thinking a certain way, and supplementing a certain way. So all of this can be yours. You just have to know exactly what to do, and you have not been educated properly, and I'm sorry for that. This is not common knowledge, and so you guys can be ahead of the game by knowing this stuff years, decades before it's even common knowledge, right? So I want to get you guys a head start. You know, imagine being the person that has a lot more energy and has healed your thyroid and your hormonal issues and doesn't have an awful period anymore and feels amazing, like you've seen London feel, and been like like 10 years ahead of the game and leading other women into here's the solutions, because we all need each other. We need this knowledge. We need this wisdom. We need to get back to the inner knowing of, if something's wrong in my body, I want to heal it. That's real wisdom, is listening to your body and going, how do I heal this on my own? It is there. It's here. So let's get back to your blood sugar imbalances, because for the most part, every single woman has this problem because of our lifestyle today. So what happens is, beyond coffee consumption, it decreases your magnesium and your B vitamins, means that you may get constipated, even though coffee helps you poop, but it does this, right? But it also dehydrates you too, which means that you may have like constipation for 4 or 5 days. And then B vitamins is what makes all of our hormones. So if we're B vitamin deplete, then you can't make hormone levels in proper balance, nor can they get absorbed by the cells. So again, you might see a perfect lab test, but if these hormones can't get in the cells because there's not enough B vitamins, then they're just running around going, hey, I want to get in the cell, but I don't have enough of these nutrients to get into it because of our blood sugar imbalances, and coffee specifically. Coffee also increases bad estrogens, and these are the ones that cause things like painful periods, PMS, endometriosis, mood swings, weak joints, bloating, that totally used to be me, especially like in the belly bloat, anxiety, acne, depression, red face, headaches, breast tenderness, difficulty losing weight, chronic fatigue, insomnia, and then no or low sex drive. So it's not anymore, but first coffee. Now you hear so many people like, oh, but first coffee. No, not but first coffee. You guys, we need to get to the root of our hormonal issues and ask, why am I so desperate on coffee? Why is it that I want to invest in an IV coffee drip? Leah says, hey, amen, sister. Leah, hey, I was going to email you. I'm coming back to OC next week, and I want to get some dancing in, all right? Let's get some dancing in. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about that. I'm glad that you guys are resonating with this. Number 2, this is the second reason why our periods are painful and we've got all these symptoms that I've been talking about, is toxicity. This is not something you'll ever hear your doctor say, ever, because the prescription drugs themselves are toxic. So if they blame it on the thing that causes the thing, then they're actually, being a hypocrite. So you'll never hear your doctor say that drugs are toxic, because they're not trained to say that. They're not trained that is the truth, but it is the absolute truth. And I can prove this from thousands of testimonials of working with women who have helped to get off of these toxic medications and get their life back. So toxicity mainly being, like I just mentioned, coffee and the acidity levels in that and the pesticides in there. And I'll talk a little bit more about that too. But this one I want to talk about heavy metals. So heavy metals that are very estrogen-ic. So what that means is it resembles estrogen to the body or blocks the cell wall doors. So again, your body can make a ton of hormones, but if those hormones can't get into the cells, they can't be used by the body. And the cell wall doors are really important. You hear a lot of talk about mitochondria these days. And the reason why is because that's what happens inside the cell. That's what gives you energy. That's what gives you ATP. That's what makes you a good athlete. That's what makes you run fast. That's what makes you think better, right? So if these cell wall doors are mucked up with all of these synthetic ingredients, including birth control, then our own made stuff can't get in. Our own nutrients can't get in. All the vitamins that we consume in our diet, all the amazing supplements that we may take. There's only 10% of supplements that are really that good anyway, but yeah, that's beside the point. If these cell wall doors are all mucked up with heavy metals and synthetic drugs and toxins and xenoestrogens, then we are estrogen dominant. And let me explain to you exactly what happens here. So, and this is huge. This is super, super huge. If there is a ton of estrogen-like things in the body, your body becomes estrogen dominant and then progesterone deficient. Let's talk about that and why is that important and how does that create, first we'll talk about how does that create a cascade of what's called estrogen dominance. And I mentioned this earlier, what this is all about. So estrogen dominance, it affects more Americans than ever in history, like I mentioned earlier. And it's evident when I test the majority of my clients. I'm seeing this now almost across the board on every woman that I test, estrogen dominance. It's also caused by copper. So there are a lot of things that are causing estrogen dominance. So the health complaints I'm hearing from estrogen dominance is painful, heavy clotting and long periods, facial hair, especially above the lip, PMS, including emotional upset, frustration, anger, headaches, breast essential nose, nosebleeds, sinus issues, bowel irregularities that occur from ovulation. I see a lot of this. Bowel irregularities that occur from ovulation up to 2 weeks prior to the period arriving. So like, God, why am I all of a sudden constipated before I start bleeding? That's why. Not enough progesterone, too much estrogen, and the answer is not to take natural progesterone either. You'll see this and hear this from a lot of natural doctors that typically will screw you up if you don't have everything addressed, like your thyroid and like toxicity. You've got to make sure they're all addressed at the same time or else your body is going to reject it and it's going to cause more problems. But also estrogen dominant symptoms is like mood swings, chronic fatigue, PCOS, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, acne, weight gain, or inability to lose weight, and then menopause, migraines, early menopause. A lot of women are getting pre-menopause in their 30s, breast cancer, hypothyroidism, and hair loss. So common now. People are like, here we go with women. I've got acne and my hair's falling out. I just want it fixed. And then they go in and they get a birth control pill and it's all fixed. Not so fast, right? Nothing is fixed. It is just blindly that this birth control is locking on to those cell receptor sites. So the synthetic hormones can get in, but your own naturally made ones can't. And then you're also being blocked from absorbing other nutrients like B and magnesium. And these are really, really important. So I want to talk about the other things that contribute to estrogen dominance. So it's like women who have painful periods and really excessive bleeding, again, too much estrogen. And here are the things that contribute to estrogen dominance, which are xenoestrogens. It's a category of chemicals. There's like 10,000 plus of them, and they're not, of course, talked about. There have been 100,000 plus chemical approved in America. Less than 5% of them have been approved for safety. So we are just this like breeding ground of, test piloting all of these toxins. And it's causing a lot of disease, as you guys know. So where we find these things is drinking water and even our showering water, because a lot of this stuff is not filtered out properly. So we got a lot of birth control in our water, and the municipalities don't have filters small enough to get this stuff out. So we got to have water filters and shower filters and things like that. Plastics, even the BPA-free kind, because BPS is a replacement for BPA, and it's said to be even worse. So you want to be drinking from glass or drinking from water bottles like this that are stainless steel. Especially your children. Do not give your children plastic water bottles, because I'll walk over there and I'll give you guys a red card. And I'm looking over here. I'm looking at my purse for my red card. I'm just going to keep looking and grabbing for this while I talk about the other ones. Pesticides and commercial produce. Yeah, anytime we're getting non-organic foods, there's pesticides in commercial produce, and it's very estrogen dominant. Very, very, it's a xenoestrogen. I can't find it. Dioxin. This is a bleach to make tampons white. So this is why I'm like not a huge advocate of tampons, because they have bleach in them and it's got dioxin to make it white. Oh great, well they're white, but your vagina's all screwed up. I need my tampon to look beautiful. No, I would rather have your vagina be beautiful and the inside of it and your periods to be beautiful, right? And then parabens. Check your makeup and your personal care product labels, because parabens are everywhere. If you guys are looking for a more natural source of makeup, go on my website and click on skincare, natural skincare. Phthalates and fragrance and home smell good items. So you know when you like walk into the gym or somewhere and you like smell this Glade plug-in and it just like overtakes your face, or if you're someone who unknowingly uses Glade or these like sprays, artificial sprays to, you know, make sure your poop doesn't smell. I know it doesn't smell, right? Just kidding. If you have estrogen dominance, which most of we women do, it probably smells. And we could always smell our hormonal poops, right? A video with me and not talking about poop would never be a real video. So, yeah, anytime you have like the Glade plugins or the smell good things or the things you know spray down on your, or like sprinkle down onto your carpet, all that stuff is very toxic. Causes allergies and ADD and excitability of the brain and all kinds of other stuff. So that's another one. It's called phthalates. Also, what is used in our like sprays, any kind of fragrance, because that's what makes the perfume stick for longer. So phthalates are heavily abundant in any kind of perfume. So this is why I recommend using essential oils for scents, right? Not like the stuff that you could buy at Nordstrom or whatever that for like $200, $300 because some famous person's face is on there. Super toxic. I saw someone's comment, and I'm going to comment on that next. Soy products, especially genetically modified soy, which is over 95% of it at this point. Soy is estrogenic and is one of the number one things I see with women who are vegan or vegetarian who are eating soy as a replacement to meats for their main protein source. It is awful. I see this more than anything with women who are not consuming meat. So definitely get rid of soy, including soy sauce. Sometimes fermented soy is okay, but I can talk more about this with you personally because every woman's different and their lifestyle is different. Commercially raised meat and dairy, copper, IUDs, birth control, and we already talked about that. So you guys, all of these things, it's not just us. It's our families. It's our livelihood. It's our kids. We are all exposed to these xenoestrogens, and it is just increasing estrogen levels to the point where we're like, I gotta do something about this now, and I'm desperate. Then you go to your doctor, and they fix you, but it actually makes it worse down the road. You get off your birth control, you try to get pregnant. If you get off your birth control, and any of your symptoms come back, they come back with a vengeance, and it could take up to 1 year for your entire body to reset itself after birth control. This is why most women who want to get off birth control work with me, so we can get there faster without symptoms, because your symptoms are going to be pretty awful getting off of it. And you may not have symptoms, but internally, these drugs are still lodged deep inside of your beautiful organs and tissues and inside of your gallbladder. And this is what we're trying to prevent, is organ removal. And women are getting total ablation because they're having excessive periods. I cannot stand to hear this anymore, you guys. Our parts should not be removed at the expense of the industry that makes profit from our consumption of their products. And I may have said that backward, and hopefully I did so you guys could laugh at me. But we basically, what I'm saying is your part shouldn't be removed while they sit at home with like profiting, and that's Monsanto, and that's Pfizer, and that's Johnson & Johnson, and that's all these, Nestle, Nestle water company is awful. So all these plastic companies are making a ton of money off of us, and plastic comes from petroleum, and petroleum is also in your lubrication. If you're using any kind of lube that has petroleum in it, if you're using anything with petroleum in it, cut it, you guys, cut it, because this is all, it's all like gasoline that we're applying on our body and in our parts. You should never have to just remove your vaginal parts just because you have awful periods. This is all preventable. All I do all day long is help you guys prevent this stuff. If you want to do it naturally, we can get you there. Emily Wilson says, I had my period start naturally age 24. Ooh, that's late, sister. I got everything checked out when I was late teens to make sure everything was there inside of, which it was. And then when I tried a pill for 10 days to make it happen, it did, but never came on its own until age 24. I think a lot of the reason was psychological. That's true, and we're going to talk about this next, actually. Had regular periods for maybe a year, half year, then it went away for maybe 6 more, came back, then since I've been back in California staying with parents 3 months, period has gone away. Yeah, sister, this is probably estrogen dominance, and you probably have a pretty advanced stage of adrenal fatigue, which is not the adrenal's fault, it's the whole body's fault that results in our thyroid and our adrenals and our ovaries starting to shut down the production of hormones, and or your hormones are being produced okay, but again, not absorbed into the cells, right? So there's so much to this. It's not just about like, hey, I'm a thyroid specialist, or hey, I'm an estrogen, I'm a adrenal specialist, or hey, I'm a gynecologist and we're going to treat this with drugs. No. We got to look at everything. Detoxification, digestion, what are you eating? What are you thinking? How are you sleeping? How are you pooping? How are you sexing? All of the things. Everything has to come together in order for us to have amazing periods that are unnoticeable and actually celebratory. They have celebrated this for years in traditions. This is something that we celebrate with the moon, and we should have cycles that flow with the moon and with each other. So we want to get back in sync with nature. And so there is a way that you can, and I can teach you how to be a woman again, because this is what this is all about, is being an empowered woman, not a disempowered woman. A disempowered woman is someone who takes birth control or takes synthetic drugs because they think that the answers are outside of themselves. You have the answers inside of you. It's just time to allow a mentor like myself to guide you back to your own wisdom. And then once you learn that, like I said, you don't have to go back to the doctor anymore. The control is inside of you, not the control is in the hands of the doctor. Because then if you put the control into the doctor's hands, you'll take this pill, then you have another pill for that side effect, then you have another pill for that side effect, then you have 5, then all of a sudden you have some sort of a cancer. And I'm not exaggerating. 1 out of 3 of us, if not 1 out of 2 of us, in this lifetime will have some sort of cancer. And it will be because we have surrendered our sovereignty to doctors who don't know shit about lifestyle and how to get to the root cause of this, because they're not taught. Doctors are not bad people. It's just a way that they are taught in the system, you guys. Again, I'm not shaming anybody. The only person to shame would be the people who created this many years ago, and that's a whole nother story. Power to the poop, for sure, Emily. Okay, let's get to the last one, emotional stress, which increases cortisol. So cortisol's not bad. Cortisol is actually what gives you the ability to have energy, right? It spikes up and then blood sugar rises so that you're like pumped and you have energy and you could work out and stuff. So cortisol's not bad. It's just bad when it's in excess or in deficiency. So we want to be stable, right? So emotional stress increases cortisol, which, just like these heavy metals and all these estrogens, block the cell wall doors, contributing to estrogen dominance further, which is a progesterone deficiencies. So again, it's not back just taking a progesterone pill or taking progesterone cream or taking a progesterone-based synthetic birth control. It is not about that. It is about asking the question, why am I estrogen dominant to begin with? And for a lot of women, it has a lot to do with hidden viruses. And look what is happening now in our nation, in America and beyond, is that this flu virus is going crazy. Viruses increase estrogen dominance, decrease progesterone, and absolutely flatline your testosterone, rendering you not having any sex drive. And then women try to get pregnant with all this stuff happening inside of them, and they're like, why can't I get pregnant? Then they spend $15,000 plus on every IVF treatment. This doesn't have to happen. I got 5 women pregnant 3 years ago when we first started the program that I created. So it can happen naturally. I'm going to start wrapping up here. So let me just educate you guys as to the 5 most important things that need to be in balance with your hormones and your life, and internally with your digestion system, your detoxification system, your immune system. So number 1, progesterone. And what happens is progesterone needs to be in balance with estrogen. And if you go to your gynecologist, they're not going to really have a clue about what this should look like from a functional medicine standpoint, from a root cause healing standpoint. They're going to only look at blood hormonal levels, which again is hormones that are being carried in the bloodstream by a protein. And some are bound or some are unbound. If they're measuring both, we only care about, in functional medicine, unbound, because that's what the cells can receive. But the bound proteins cannot get anywhere. They can't be used by the body. And that's what allopathic standard medical doctors look at. So it's a totally false picture. So it could look beautiful on your blood test, but it absolutely a train wreck on the tests that we use, which is exactly what happens when women come to me after decades of suffering. So progesterone is typically low on the tests I see, but it will look just perfect on the blood test. And they're like, oh, no wonder why I have problems. So Sister Gina, your progesterone, what it does is estrogen creates the blood flow, progesterone keeps it padded down, and it's kind of like the dam. So when your period actually happens and it's time to bleed, your progesterone will start to drop so that estrogen can release the flow of blood out of your body. Now, imagine if there's not enough of this progesterone to pad it down, then your estrogen flow is high and your blood's just flowing all over the place, and you have double periods, never-ending periods, painful periods, excessive bleeding, blood clots, and more, and all the symptoms associated with PMS. So we absolutely need to make sure that there's enough progesterone. Second, healthy cortisol levels prevent the cells from getting clogged up, and we already talked about that. So getting your stress in check is so important. We keep forgetting about this, or we just keep pushing it aside and saying, oh no, I'm too busy, I can't, stop, I got too much work to do, I got shit to do, I got a to-do list. We gotta start taking care of ourselves, you guys. No one else is gonna do this for us. The second one, or the third one, estrogen prompts you to properly detox through menstruation. So I also see a lot of low estrogen in my clients' lab tests. That doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have estrogen dominance. You could be low in estrogen and then low in progesterone. You could be low in both, but you're still estrogen dominance because they should be like right here. So post your distinctions, because that's really important to understand. You can still have estrogen dominance, but everything's low. And so if you have estrogen deficiency, you're also going to have periods that maybe just don't stop. Or just not pleasant periods. The fourth one, and we're gonna get to the last one, which is the most important one. The fourth one, testosterone gives you a sex drive. And so if you've got a ton of cholesterol blocking, or xenoestrogens blocking the cell wall doors, then your testosterone cannot get made. And you're like, why am I not gaining muscle, losing weight? Why don't I not have a sex drive? Am I not motivated or confident? Why am I afraid of starting a project or chasing a dream? Ladies, you guys deserve to achieve your dreams. You deserve to follow them. You deserve to have the mental fortitude to want to chase them. And this is actually part of the program that we're launching in 2 days. It's not just about how to fix your hormones, but it's about how to give you the confidence and clarity so that you can actually do the things that you want to do and set forth to stay on that path. Because once you turn the lights onto your body and your mind and your hormones and all of the systems, you literally can do anything you put your mind to. But when you're flatlined and exhausted and constipated and congested and depressed, we don't want to do anything but survive and just take care of our day, right? So this is about turning your hormonal chaos into a blessing, a story, and then helping women all around the world. So if you're interested in becoming a health coach too, I'm your girl. The fifth one, this is the most important one. Ready? Your adrenals make all of these hormones, your sex, stress, and sleep hormones. Your adrenals are back here. So if you've got some back pain, you probably have adrenal issues. And it's not your adrenals' fault. Again, remember, they're dumb. They just receive messages from the brain. So it's a whole cascade of things that are happening. Your adrenals make all of these hormones, sex, stress, sleep hormones. So they need to be cared for in unison with the thyroid. If you have a thyroid problem, you have an adrenal problem. If you have an adrenal problem, you have a thyroid problem, right? So if you're taking a thyroid medication or some sort of a supplement to boost your thyroid production, you must treat your adrenals at the same time, or else you're going to amp one up and then leave the other one hanging back here. They've got to run at the same pace. It's kind of like having a running buddy. You don't want one sprinting and one like crawling. That's like a sloth and a leopard. You want them both to be like at the same pace, because if you give your thyroid like a ton of ammunition and fuel, then your adrenals are going to be exhausted and your thyroid's going to have to do the adrenals job, and then your thyroids get exhausted and you may have to have your thyroid removed because it got messed up by something, and then here you are, another thing that got removed. This is our future, ladies, if we don't change our lifestyle and open our eyes to how we could actually take control of our health with this stuff. And I promise you, it is not that difficult. I created a formula that's super straightforward to get you there in like months, instead of having to deal with this for decades and suffer the consequences of these drugs down the road, and cancers, which cancer is like 50 grand, as a price tag of 50 grand. And that's what happens when we take these pills. So, anyway, I pretty much covered it all. I hope you guys really get some benefit from this video, and I really hope that you feel inspired to, you can't share these videos outside the group. If you're watching this on YouTube later, you can share the video. But what you can do to support your sisters is you can add women to this group, and then you can tag them in this video. Once I get the YouTube video up, I will share it with you. You can share that with your friends and your sisters and your mothers and your daughters or whomever, because this is one of the most important topics in female hormonal health now. And people are just not told the truth. And you guys are so much lied to, and you're so misinformed. And it's time. It's time that we flip the bird to these lies and take our control back. So 45 minutes, yay, I covered a whole bunch of stuff for you guys. Other than omitting caffeine and distressing through things like yoga, how do you treat your adrenals? So Leah, the way that you treat your adrenals is you don't just take herbs to treat your adrenals. It's absolutely removing stress, of course, taking care of that, but it's cleansing your body. So you always have to be, I say ABC, always be cleansing. Not just like a 1 week cleanse or a 3-day juice cleanse or whatever, or like not eating for 30 days and just doing water fasting. You got to know how to live a cleansed lifestyle. So every day you're making multiple decisions that support your liver, that cleanse your body, because a lot of these hormones, they circulate and they can't leave. If they can't get in the cells, right? Because all this gunk is blocking them, they're just going to keep recirculating and then end up in your gallbladder. Ouch. And then you have even worse problems, and your skin looks like shit, and then you're aging, and then your glands are all swollen, and then maybe you have lymphoma, and then you have like a whole, which is your lymph, right? And then you have all these organs removed, and it's just not okay anymore to not know this stuff. So treating your adrenals is definitely doing things like adaptogens, but if you just do adaptogens without thinking about the thyroid too, then you're gonna pump your adrenals, and your thyroid's gonna be down here, and your adrenals are gonna have to do all the work, and then your adrenal gets exhausted, and you have adrenal fatigue, which could result in Addison's disease, and they'll put you on a drug for life. So it has to be the trilogy. You must cleanse your body, learn how to support your body all day, every day, sleep regularly, sleep at like 10 to 8 or 10 to 6 in the morning. And there's a tremendous number of things. There's a whole huge checklist, and this is what I'm sharing in my program that starts in 2 days, is how to get you guys a fast track to your dreams, your hormonal balance, your body strength, you're creating dreams and following them with confidence, and really learning and being able to see how you use your time and how you allow your time to get abused. So it's taking an inventory of your time, your money, and your energy. Where can we conserve? Of course, that's how to discover, like, how do we reduce stress? But it's supporting your body through herbs, through healthy foods. And here's the thing. Just eating healthy anymore in America and several other countries, because other countries follow America, is not enough anymore, because our minerals are super, they've disappeared from the soil. So we have like it takes like 5 heads of broccoli to get the same nutrition as 1 head of broccoli in 1950, before we put all these chemicals all over foods like pesticides and organocides and insecticides and glyphosate. So we can't just eat a healthy diet anymore. I see so many women who are doing everything perfect. They're eating healthy, they are sleeping perfectly, they're working out every day, they're maybe taking a prescription or not, but they're still not where they want to be. And the reason is because our food is super sick. Even the organic food, they're finding tons of heavy metals. So I don't want you guys to feel helpless about any of this stuff. There is a formula and there is a way, and I've cracked it, and I want to share it with you. But it's not just one thing here and one thing there. You got to put it all together, and that's the secret sauce that I offer that very few, I've never seen this before. We're integrating all the things at one time, because someone could talk to a doctor about diet and like nutrition, right? Or nutritionist. You could talk to a personal trainer and they could help you with a certain few things and tell you to, like, detox more or whatever. Then you could talk to a doctor about getting on progesterone cream or medication, and they might even give you some supplements, but even supplements are super toxic today if you're not getting the right ones, and they're not absorbed properly if you're super toxic again, right? And then you can talk to a life coach. You're like, oh, it must be my emotions. It must be because I'm super stressed out. And then maybe you buy like an app or something to help you like get organized. But until you get all these things put together, that is the trilogy that makes everything work. And that's what I want to share with you. I've spent a decade doing this stuff. So again, if you're watching this, post your distinctions. I'd love to hear what you learned from this and what your main takeaways are that you're going to do. If you're ready for a deep dive and you want to talk to me, of course, click on my website, Diane Kaiser, and then click on work with me. You can watch the video or not. I talked a lot about today why we have issues with our periods and all of the hormonal issues. So you could either watch the video or you could just book an appointment with me, and I'd love to talk with you guys more about how I can help empower you and educate you and inspire you so that we can cleanse your body, heal your hormones, and ignite your life, and then change the world doing so, because every woman is dying to hear this information. This is the truth. All right, ladies, thank you so much. And thank you, Leah. Yay, and Simine. Yeah, Simine's in the program, so she's going to be one of the 10 amazing ladies who's going to start kicking off with us for round 1 of this in 2 days. So remember, it's also February 14th in 2 days when I'm filming this, so this is why we started it on this date, is because of self-love. So tuning out for now, Pura Vida, Diane Kaiser of DianeKaiser.com, and if there's anything I could do to help you guys, please let me know. I will talk to some of you guys on our call this week if you're feeling inspired, and again, please tag and share this with women, because this is the straight up truth that they've been looking for decades. Bye, ladies.